Hello, this is Goto. Welcome back to Feed the Beast Interactions Remastered. Since last time, I didn't write any notes since last time. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to talk about what I did. Um, so last time I went out and did a bunch of just manual mining. I went and found some veins over in the jungle because there's veins called jungle copper veins, and they have a lot of chalcopyrite and bornite, which are ores that we can use for the platinum process. So as you can see here, we've got like, I don't know, add those numbers up, like 8,000 ores, purified ores that have been washed and they are ready to go in the flatline process. So for the flatline process, they need, the first step is to put them with nitric acid, and it's going to give us a sulfuric solution, which we can then electrolyze. And that's going to apply for all of these recipes here. So we have copper sulfuric solution and then nickel solution. And nickel we can also put into an electrolyzer. So I'm thinking we just utilize this setup we have over here. And I'm just going to pop a chemical reactor down just next door to this guy. Chemical reactor we don't actually have. So reactor. Let me cook up one of these. And apparently we don't know how to make polyethylene fluid pipes. Let's go ahead and teach that recipe really quick. Pipe, polyethylene fluid pipe. We need 2 of those made. Oh, whoops, I've done goops. We need to use the recipe with the pulp. So give me that recipe again, but change it to the pulp. Pipe, stick it in there. Now I can go ahead and request polyethylene. What the? Thought I just saw something weird on my screen, but nope, I'm imagining things. Alright, so go ahead, request those. And now we have our chemical reactor. So that's nice and easy. We will be using some of our logistic pipes, I think, because the logistic pipes are right here and they're already like all up and next to these machines. So I'm like, okay, let's just leverage those. So let's hook up a basic pipe here so that we can hook up a provider to this guy. And is there a reason you're red? Yeah, we don't need no installed upgrades, that's fine. And then let's get a chest here. Chest. It doesn't need to be a gold chest. Iron chest is fine. So we are going to use a conveyor belt, and this just processes 1 at a time, right? Like we don't need to put it in a special increment. Nah, okay. So we are going to put our chemical reactor here. Let me get a cable. We're using Terra Steel here, right? Yeah, Terra Steel. Plop that down, flop that there. That should be connected and getting power. I think we might want a disconnection upgrade in here just because I don't know what that's going to try to connect to if we leave it connected there. So disconnect that so that it can keep grabbing pyrotheum from there. Though I don't, now that I think about it, I don't know what's using pyrotheum. To be honest, I don't think we really need that because we're not actively requesting pyrotheum in our logistic pipe system. So on second thought, let's just break that. We don't need that. And I'll reset that disconnection upgrade. Now we're going to have just a regular supplier pipe, I think would be fine. So a supplier pipe here because we're not going to have too many items coming over here. And I'm just going to get all of these guys. So we're going to have chalcopyrite and the other version, chalcocite. Then tetrahedrite. Then pentlandite. Sheldonite. And then can I guess the last one? Shoot, I don't remember all of them. Here, let me look. Chemical reactor, what's the last one? There's 6 of them. Sheldonite, pentlandite, tetrahedrite, boronite, calcite. Do I have 6? No, I only have 5. What am I missing? Let me look again. Sheldonite. So we have 6 up here. What is missing here? Boronite. Boronite, that's what's missing. Boronite. Okay. And I'm just, whoops, I'm just going to keep these on partial. Please don't, like, request a bajillion of them and overflow this chest. Okay, we're good. Alright, so that's going to pull those items over there. Over here, we're going to need to get nitric acid. So let me get a fluid supplier. Let's just get nitric acid. You sure love you some nitric acid.name. Okay, and then we need a conveyor belt to get the items into the thing. And what do we think is easier, to conveyor the items out of here or to push the fluid? I think like a conveyor is technically cheaper than a pump, so I will go ahead and make another conveyor. I mean, it's like metal instead of funny parts. So we're going to push items out from here. That's going to be the platinum sludge group. And then, or the platinum group sludge. And then we are going to wrench this machine and put the fluids into the electrolyzer. And what else do we need? Oh, we need to, here we need to specify manual input-output unfiltered so that items can push in through the conveyor belt there. Oh, and then I needed a conveyor belt to import from the chest. Import. Okay, there we go. This should start processing if we had any dangled nitric acid. Where's our nitric acid again? Nitric acid here. So we have a bunch of nitric acid sitting in here. Okay, so I can either have a pipe overhang on this side, which isn't my favorite, but we don't have too many of that happening, so it's not too cluttered looking. So nitric acid, and then provider pipe. All right. All right, there's the next step in this. This should take nitric acid. All right, there it went. Nitric acid should arrive over here shortly, and this should start processing. And how fast does this go? Okay, like way faster than it needs to, I think. Because this electrolyzer is going to fill up before it can do anything. So we can overclock this, underclock it actually probably down to medium voltage. All right, now it's still faster than the electrolyzer, but not by a terrible amount. And that is giving us some oxygen and sulfuric acid from that. Nice. Okay, nitric acid over here is going to be spinning up. How is our nitric acid production looking? Honestly, this whole chain here is pretty quick. I think this is the bottleneck, creating ammonia. And that is set to HV, so we can't exactly speed it up without tearing that out and adjusting a bunch of stuff. So this is fine as is. And it is just going to be processing away on this on these ores here. Getting some copper out of there and sulfuric acid and the platinum group sludge. All right, cool. So that's already a bunch of stuff done. So one other thing I wanted to address is that over here I actually hit a situation where all of my drives were full, and I did kind of a manual defragmentation of my drives, but I actually wanted to set up an automatic defragmentation. So you need to defrag your drives because these drives can hold a certain number of items, and sometimes you'll end up with the same item in multiple drives, and then it's just going to be taking up more space than it needs to because these are based on the number of types of items in them. They also have like a capacity of items, but we're like frankly nowhere near hitting that capacity in like basically any of our drives. Like this one has a lot of items. It has all of our gold in it, and it's still like barely over 10% full. So I grabbed some of the Steve's Factory Manager, aka Super Factory Manager, in this version of Minecraft. But in prior versions it was called Steve's Factory Manager. There's a quest about it here, and there is a tutorial by Direwolf20 on YouTube if you want, but I actually am pretty versed in this. I used to use this a lot in previous mod packs. So I want it to basically be something with a redstone controlled system to basically come down here, press a button, and then it's going to defragment our drives. So I got first of all, we need the controller block. We need a redstone receiver. That's what's going to get our redstone signal to start the process. And then the button is what I'll actually have to activate it. So any inventory that we want to interact with needs to be touching the inventory manager or these inventory cable blocks. So we want to be touching all of the drives. I could also set this up for the I could set it up for the fluid system as well, but for now we're just going to do the what's it called? The item drives. So put a cable up there, and then our redstone receiver, this is what's going to activate our process by when we press that button. Okay, and then you right click the controller and you get hit with this crazy looking thing where you can basically press these buttons and it makes like little flowchart actions. It's kind of overwhelming at first. Also, due to whatever reason, the font is like such that you can't really read it. Anyways, so what we're going to want to do is we want to have a redstone. So before you start anything, you need to have something called a trigger. That's what starts your program. So we're going to have a trigger that is redstone controlled. So you can go over here in the connections and set a redstone control trigger. And then that sets it like, okay, where is your redstone receiver that you're going to be getting your redstone from? We're going to use that redstone receiver up there. Time triggered between this command, that's going to be for the non-redstone part of this command. Here's the sides that you can receive the signal on. So if we put buttons on different sides, we could have it do different programs. I'm just going to not mess with that right now. You can specify a specific needed redstone strength, and then that's where we set the thing. So each of these little notches here kind of control a different way of starting the program. So there is an on high pulse. In other words, when it turns high, there's on low pulse. In other words, when the redstone signal turns off. And then there is a while high and while low. So while the redstone is on and then while the redstone is off. And that is controlled by this interval command. So that's going to execute every second while the redstone is on or off. So what we're going to do is we basically want a program that is going to pull all of our drives out of our, what's it called? Pull all of our drives, all of our storages out of our drives, rather, all of our storage cells out of the drives. It's going to put them in a buffer chest temporarily, and then we want to put them through our MEIR port one by one so that they can basically dump anything they have into any other places where it should be in the network. And by doing it one by one, this will allow, like, if there's any common items between these drives, they are going to go basically stack into the same drive, and we're gonna have a bunch of items that are of the same type. So in order to do this, you make what's called an input. So we can go over to this input and you can open up the inventories and say these are the inventories we want to input from. So for our situation here, we are going to want to input from the drives. Though we're going to want to be putting items in and out of the drive. So another thing we can do is we can create a variable. And in this variable, we can you can also name these commands, but in this variable, you can give it a color. You can tell it what's allowed to be in the variable, which controls what's going to be selectable here, but we're just going to have it be an inventory variable. And then you can see now the redstone emitter, the redstone detector is not in here. And we're just going to select the ME drives. So all of the ME drives are going to be bound to the white variable here instead of being, having us to select them. I'm just going to call this drives. So we have a drives variable. Now on high polls, so when we press the button, we want to press the show variable button, and now we can select drives. And if we reopen that and look at inventories, it doesn't have the inventory selected, but it has the inventory variable selected. And it doesn't matter what side of the block we pull them from, I don't think, and it doesn't matter what we're pulling, so we're just going to have an empty block list. And we're just going to call this command get cells. So that's going to get our cells. And then we're going to make a buffer here, or we're going to move them to the buffer. So we're going to select our target inventory as the gold chest, and we're going to call this one put buffer. So when we get a redstone signal, we're going to get all of the cells from the disks, from the drives rather, and then we're going to put them into the buffer. And I haven't specified anything here because it should just be interacting with all of it. Now, while there is no redstone signal, we want to run our defragmentation process. So I set it to the while low signal command here. It's going to run every second. We're going to call this get cell, so one single cell, and I want to take target from our gold chest. That's where our buffer is. Doesn't matter what side it is. And we have to go in here and we have to select a... Oh, hold on. I think... Hang on, cancel this. Because now I'm thinking here, I think we want to first make sure that the IO drive is empty. So let's first get the IO port. So we're going to call this get IO. And I think the IO port only allows you to get items from the sides of it. It's one of those weird sided blocks. So we're going to tell it that it can just get the items from the south side of the IO block. And it can take everything from the IO block. And we want to put whatever is in the IO into the drives. So we're going to say put drives. So we're going to get anything that's currently in the IO drive and we're going to put it in the back into an ME drive. Then we want to create an input from the buffer. So we're going to say get buffer. We're getting an item from the buffer. And we are going to create an output down here. And we're going to put IO. And in this one, this is where we have to specify, we're putting it in the IO port. And then we have to specify here in this part. Let me move this up because it's kind of dumb. We only want one item in that IO port at any time. So we're just going to take, we can take any item here. I'm just going to take a piece of cobblestone. And you can right click in here and you can specify the specific attributes of the item in here. I'm just going to tell it detect match any. So this is going to match any item. And we are going to set a specify amount and it's going to 1 is the default there. So this should just put one item into the IO port. And that should be it. That should be all there is to that. So if we go and grab this, it should be running right now. So if we put this in here, it puts it in the IO port, then it takes it away from the IO port, and it should be back over here. Great, yeah, it's back where we took it from. All right, so now we can press our button and see how the program works. So when we press this button, we should see all the drives fly in here, then we should see it putting one at a time up here. So let's go. There they go, and it's moving one at a time. And you can't really tell anything's happening here because the IO drive is actually very fast. But you can see that the drive is changing because the attributes over here are updating. So all right, that was all the drives. So now we go over here and we can see we have compressed all of our drives into we've compressed all of them into all of the item types into these 19 cells, and then we have 23 spots left. So because we have so few spots, I'm actually going to go ahead and pop in a couple extra cells, and we're going to defrag one more time. So here's what the process looks like from this side. These are just getting filled up. If there's any same type items, it's going to match them up. so that everything gets compressed. All right, and there's a 40, there's our 40, and then there's our 2 empty ones we just put. Okay, so everything is like maximally defragmented at this point. So cool. Defragmentation achieved. And whenever we run low on storage, we can just come in here and check and see like how many item types are we taking up, do a quick defrag, and then see if we should add some more drives. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more. So that looks good. We have 4 completely empty ones, and that this one's a little over half full. So 4.5 cells worth of stuff. Our fluid ones are fine at the moment. These are going to be less prone to overflowing. Also, we don't have a terrible amount of any kind of fluid that's sitting in these. And these hold a lot of fluid, despite being a 1K cell. So whenever we upgrade those, they're going to be holding just a ridiculous amount of fluids. If I end up needing to use these other drives for items instead, that's going to be no problem to add that to the defrag process. I just need to put an inventory cable on them and then go in the variable over here and add the extra drives, and that will update the drives in this program. So that's why I put them in the variable as well. Easy to change. All right, let's go check on our platinum sludge processing over here. Ah, yes, it is kind of getting bottlenecked by the electrolyzer, but that's fine. We are not too worried about this like being the fastest process that it can possibly be. Let's go check our storage because it should be sending our platinum group sludge into our main storage. So platinum group sludge. Oh yeah, we already have 1,000. That's good. Okay, and I ended up taking a little pause to do some things, and now have 5 times as much platinum group sludge. Let's go. All right, time to set it up to go. So we need Aqua Regia in a centrifuge, and it has to be an HV centrifuge. And then that's going to give us what we can do with our next step. Question is, where do I want to set this up? Do I want to like have it in its own thing? Do I want it to just like kind of make it and then we can kind of process the chemicals as we need? Because this is just, yeah, there's still kind of a lot of steps in this. So let's just go ahead and do, since this step over here takes HV, let's just throw this as a passive processing step in our chemical processing area over here. And we will work from there. So aqua regia is the first thing we got to worry about. So hydrochloric acid, which we have tons of, and nitric acid. Okay, not too bad. All right, so let's make an HV mixer and then an HV centrifuge for our thing over there. Double check I don't already have them. Okay, so mixer. Go ahead and request all that stuff, and then centrifuge. That might take a while. I just saw a lot of circuits get requested here. Let's go upstairs with our time in a bottle and help those machines out. Alright, I think I might have accelerated something that can't be accelerated here. Mixer should be good to go. Bookmark this. Mixer. There's our mixer. Then we're just going to need our centrifuge. Okay, so we didn't have any problem there overlapping requested items. Alright, let's go down to our chemical processing line. Let's do it, we can do it over here. I can have my centrifuge push into this insertion pipe here since it's not going to be producing any fluid, so it's not going to be kind of fighting that. Get some Terra steel cables. All right, so centrifuge is going to go over here. And that's going to push that way, and that's going to push the items. And then next to it, we will have our mixer. And then our mixer, we're going to need we're going to push fluid out of this, and we need aqua regia. So that's going to need hydrochloric acid and nitric acid, which we both have on our system, so we just need 2 supplier pipes to get them over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So supplier, we're also going to need a supplier for getting the platinum sludge into this machine. Plop. 2 fluid suppliers. Nitric acid is on this side, so I'm just going to go ahead and hook up nitric acid over here. And does this need a circuit? No circuit. Okay, so nitric acid. And then on this side we will have hydrochloric acid, not diluted. And we'll just have 16 of that because it uses double. Alright, so those should come over. We have nitric acid, right? Uh-oh. Nitric acid production over here is actually a little lagging behind processing that stuff over there with the sludge. What is our bottleneck step here? Still the, looks like it's still the ammonia step. Okay. This step also kind of seems like... No, it's not a bottleneck. So it's this one. It's the machine that's still running. So, yeah, no worries. Once we're caught up on processing these ores, the nitric acid's going to be in higher abundance. And also, we can just go here and... I was going to say have it request more so that it doesn't fill up. But anyways, it doesn't matter. We are okay. Let's get our sludge, not sludge, platinum group sludge. You can barely see it here, it's so dark. And we can actually keep a stack in here, and this should just start processing. So, there we go. Takes 25 seconds to process one of these. Pretty slow, but... Yeah, with how slow this is, and how much Aqua Regia is using, 1200. Yeah, how slow this is, we're not gonna run into an issue here. So platinum sludge residue, what is that? That's just centrifuge. I mean, I guess we can deal with that. What else do we have to deal with? Platinum powder. We can electrolyze. Not too worried about electrolyzing it, but we'll see how much hydrochloric acid this process starts using. If it starts using a lot, then we're going to need to make more chlorine. Right now our chlorine is capped out, and I believe our hydrochloric acid is capped out or close to capped out. Close to capped out. So we're not going to be making acid anytime soon, and if we are, then we're not going to be low on chlorine anytime soon. Palladium powder, we can do some interesting stuff here. We can mix it with hydrochloric acid, get some palladium back, and also some ammonium chloride, which we could make into ammonia. And ammonia we can pipe back into... Where is using ammonia? It's this machine, right? That uses ammonia? Which machine is it? This one? Trying to figure out which machine makes the ammonia. I think this is the one that makes it. Why are you not running though? Confused here. No, this one makes the ammonia. So why are you not running? Nitrogen and hydrogen. Are we out of nitrogen or hydrogen? We most definitely are out of hydrogen. Oh. That's kind of wild, actually. Didn't expect to be out of hydrogen. Can these machines do distinct buses? No, they can't. It would have been nice to have a chemical reactor that can do distinct buses, and then we could just have a different bus for all of these eggs, but that does not work that way. So yeah, hydrogen. Didn't expect that to be our kind of bottleneck here. Do we have any... Do we have any dust that either electrolyze or centrifuge into hydrogen. Limonite? I don't think we have any limonite. No. And then the other option would be via... you know, we do have a lot of methane. We have a lot of methane. We could definitely like electrolyze some methane to get a bunch of hydrogen. Like a bunch of hydrogen. I'm good, but I'm like just not overall that concerned about it. So we're avoiding the methane though, so it's almost like, you know, might as well. Okay, why don't we just go ahead and set up a quick little electrolyzer over here. We can, what are these advanced fluid detectors doing? I forget. Oh, I was going to set them to actually turn on and off the processing for this over here. We also have like a ton of ethylene. Can we electrolyze ethylene as well? We can also electrolyze ethylene, but methane's going to be more effective. So let's just electrolyze some methane. So I'm going to have it electrolyze methane when the methane tank is full, more or less. Thinking how to do this. So we could do it with integrated dynamics, but we would still need two hookups because we need one hookup to get the fluid out and we need one hookup to read the fluid. Underneath is a fluid conduit. Okay, I know. Since there's a fluid conduit out under it, we can use that to get the fluid out. So let me put this fluid detector back on. And then I'm going to set this fluid detector, let's just say for, we don't need a flip-flop, so let's just say, I mean, I guess we can have it latched. When we are above 39, three nine zero 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 zero, enter. Oops, that's right. We gotta set the max first. When we're above 3,950,000, the number of zeros. Okay, so that's 3.95 million. Turn on, and then when we are at 3.9 million, turn off. Okay, so that's going to be latched, and so right now we should have a signal. So let me invert it. So we have a signal right now. It should stay on until we get under 3.9 million. So with this signal, we are going to get, let's get a redstone conduit. So going to take this redstone conduit here. Let's go in this pipe, and we're going to go to this fluid extractor. And I'm going to go on magenta because the methane is like magenta-ish. So we're going to extract on magenta when we have a redstone signal. And we're going to get that signal on channel red. So let's go up here and connect this here, and we are going to input on channel red. So that should be now powering that conduit. If we hook up a tank, it should turn on the tank. Okay, and then let's, I guess because it's on this fluid conduit line, right? We can just have it down here. Yeah, that's a good idea. And then here, I'm also going to I'm going to insert on black. So we want to insert on red for items to get it into our interface, and then for black, we need to insert it on... We just need to insert it on the black channel, but we need to put it in our filter because this is only getting helium. So, all right, so that should be all set to work. So now we just need an electrolyzer down here. I should have really requested that before I started doing all this. We're going to need an electrolyzer down here. Let's get a piece of Terra steel cable. Just going to hook it up right here. I'm also going to need to hook up the items, though, so, I guess let's get some item conduits. Item conduit. Oh, we're running low on these. We gotta make some more. So item conduit. What are you set to? You are set to extract on red, right? Okay. So I'm just gonna have the item conduit wrap all the way around to here. Okay. So item conduit, you are going to connect to our electrolyzer right here. Plop. You are going to, you're not going to insert any items, but you are going to extract on red. And then you are going to extract fluid on the black channel, always. And you are going to insert on the magenta channel. That should be working. Why is it not working? Let's see what's going on here. We are inputting. We have a signal of 15. Here we have our fluid pipe. Oh, I didn't actually hook it up here, so there we go. Now it should be working. Way to prove me wrong, game. Thank you for that. Let's try that again. So, do we need red signal to come over here? Input on red. Does that work now? Nope, still not working. Whoop. Come on, Electra. You knew I didn't need to glide in my basement. What were you thinking? So we are active with redstone signal. We are getting a redstone signal from right here. It's going into this redstone conduit, coming up here. Oh, do we need an output on red? My bad. I had it set to input instead of output. There we go. Holy hydrogen. Alright, so yep, we do be having hydrogen. And why are items not coming out? This is... Oh, I didn't put an item conduit right here. It's not connected. There we go. Now the item should be going. Okay, now they're going. I was like, it's still not going? In fact, this is so slow here. Let's get a speed conduit. Extract speed conduit. And let's put it on the fluid side. Oops, not the item side. The fluid side is fine. Alright, I want it extracting faster than it produces. Okay, and then we stopped getting methane. So that should mean that we're under 3.9 million methane. Yes, perfect. Okay, cool. So just as we get excess methane, that's going to turn into extra hydrogen for us. So now we go over here. We should have a good amount of hydrogen. Yes, nice. This is still going to keep making hydrogen because it's below the threshold, but we do something with our excess hydrogen over there at least. And then I don't think I want to put multiple types of fluids in here. Like I was thinking to maybe also do that with excess other fluids here. But the problem is if this conduit turns off while that is in the middle of running, it's gonna like have a potentially not a whole bucket increment of a fluid in there, and then that could cause it to be jammed up. So without some kind of buffer to move exactly 1,000 fluid in there at a time, I am not willing to set this up for the rest of the things. Yeah, propene would be 6 hydrogen even, so that would be even nicer. Butadiene is 6. Benzene we're not going to do, but it's 6, and then toluene is 8. We're definitely not doing toluene. We need our toluene for our explosives. Okay, so we got some extra hydrogen able to be made on the fly over there. Like if I want, I could totally just grab some buckets of ethylene, toss them down here. I mean, ethylene is quite a bit slower than the methane, isn't it? Alright, this is fine though. Let's dump our ethylene back in here. I don't want to carry it around. Since these are full over here, I will go ahead and take a bottle with me. It's just like slow though, is the thing. Like even twice accelerated, it's still not that quick. Alright, let's put the propane instead because it gives us a little bit more hydrogen, and then I'm gonna stop messing with it manually. No, I don't want that filled. Okay. Okay, enough of that. Okay, so we are now in the next step of platinum group. So platinum group sludge is centrifuging now. So the next step is we need to handle the outputs we care about. So chemical reactor is going to need hydrochloric acid. I'm thinking I'll worry about this when we actually start needing palladium later. For now, we can just accumulate the raw palladium powder. Platinum powder we can also worry about later. And then platinum sludge residue, since this is a centrifuge, I'm just going to go ahead and bring that over to this, our centrifuge setup over here. And we can add it under here. Sludge residue. Alright, so any sludge residues will be called over to this centrifuge, and it will be centrifuged in the appropriate increments. Yep, in increments of 5, exactly. And that's just going to turn into silicon dioxide, which I don't think we really use all that much of. Could definitely use it for some things that we don't really need to use it for, but it is a mineral that's going to exist in our system, I guess. Alright, the next thing we need to deal with, also rarest metal, I'm going to deal with that later. Inert metal mixture. Okay, let's deal with inert metal mixture. So how do we want to deal with inert metal mixture? We need sulfuric acid, we need the... So this is going to make rhodium sulfate, which we need to deal with. This is going to make hydrogen, which actually might be good. We'll get some of our hydrogen back into our system. So rhodium sulfate. It's going to give us sulfur trioxide. That's kind of an annoying thing to get. Where is sulfur trioxide? That's in this machine, right? I'm not sure what I want to do with the sulfur trioxide. We could technically turn it into sulfuric acid, but it's like... requires water. We'd probably want our own chemical reactor to catch that, so... I guess we can go ahead and handle that, so we can do that over here. Let's do chemical reactor. That is not a chemical reactor. Here it is. Chemical reactor, request one of those. So that's going to be for the sulfur trioxide. I already have this bookmarked. We're going to need an electrolyzer for the rhodium sulfate. And the rhodium sulfate's going to come from... This is an EV recipe, so... That one's kind of tricky. EV, huh? How are we going to do EV? So we could put like an EV chemical reactor down here. And this is the only step we need it for, right? What do we need to do with our ruthenium tetroxide? We can just throw that in a regular chemical reactor. In a lower tier one, I mean. Okay. And this is also a rather slow recipe, too. This needs to go in an electrolyzer. Whoops. This needs to go in another chemical reactor with carbon. I'm almost thinking like maybe do a large chemical reactor. We could definitely do a large chemical reactor like over here for this processing. And I might. We can stick it like on this side, or we could just have it in line really. If we do a large chemical reactor though, the thing is that the large chemical reactor, when you have multiple recipes in it, it's going to keep trying to do one of the recipes. So if it overflows from doing that recipe, then it's not going to be able to do like the next recipe, right? So we need to design a kind of a situation like where we have over here where it automatically stops production of one thing if the hatch reaches a certain amount. Like here, right? The hydrogen sulfide is stopped because we are full on sulfuric acid. But when we are not full on sulfuric acid, where's sulfuric acid? Yeah, we're almost full on sulfuric acid. When we're not full, it'll keep going, so I think I can swing that. Okay, let's plan to have the large chemical reactor. Let's just have it against or in the wall over here. Is what I'm thinking. So let's make a little space for our large chemical reactor. Isn't that funny? I just like deleted that part of the wall there. And then let's go get a LCR kit, large chemical reactor set. So that's going to cook up an entire large chemical reactor for us. And we're going to need a energy hatch because I think it only makes one energy hatch. So we're going to need an extra HV energy hatch so we can get EV power in there. And for the power, I am going to just get prepared to route a cable up this way. We will have our power going in like so. Plop, plop. And plop, plop. Okay. We can worry about covering that up later. So we will have our energy hatches over there. What is taking so long for this to craft? Oh, it needs like a bajillion steel ingots? Okay. Arc furnace, it is time to speed up. Oh yeah, also our infinity drill is now the legendary tier, which means it can do up to 11 by 11 by 11, which is quite a big area to mine. But it still only does one layer deep, so... I'm going to put it to charge somewhere else, like in a less busy machine, perhaps. Let's put it, like, up here, sure, in our chemical bath. That is a lot of... That is a lot of values. A lot of power it needs there. We need, like, 1,000 times more power. 2,000 times more power than what we have currently to fill it. Maybe we worry about that later, because if this is just taking power for no reason, basically. So yeah, let's worry about that later. I feel like we can also probably turn off blocking mode on this. Turn off blocking mode. We don't need to have crafting locked on this machine, I don't think. Because it's not going to be able to push in multiple recipes if each recipe requires an item. Right? Like, there's no fluid-only recipes in here, are there? There are not. Okay, yeah, that should be fine. Or we could, like, block on... No, we don't want to block on anything. We just want it to go. Alright, so our large chemical reactor set should be done. Our HP energy hatch should be done. So here we go. Here's our large chemical reactor. Bloop! And we're probably going to need more input and output hatches, but for now, let me set up what we have so far. So here's our energy hatches. I think this is only our second large chemical reactor, so... Alright, these are hooked up. Alright, and then the controller is going to go right here in the middle. Pipe casing in the top, and then in the back I'm going to put the... Actually, I'm going to put the coil on the bottom. It doesn't matter where the coil is, but it needs to be touching the middle block, so... Alright, so what do we need here? We need... Let's look at our recipes really quick. So we need... Do we want to do this recipe as well? IV power? No, we're not going to do that right now. Okay. We just take way too many combustion generators. So we need this recipe. Then we need rhodium sulfate, sulfur trioxide. I'm just going to have a chemical reactor by itself set up. In fact, I think reactor, we requested one, right? We did, and now we need to make another one because I use the ingredients in the LCR probably. Alright, so let's set up the, what's it called, the chemical reactor for, what's it called? For sulfur first. Okay. We will need 2 supplier pipes. So supplier, because we need one for water, and we need one for the sulfur. No, we don't need the sulfur trioxide. We need a basic pipe for the sulfur trioxide. Right? Gotta keep looking at this dang old recipe. Yeah, because that's gonna just get kicked out by electrolyzer. So that's gonna need a basic pipe to be caught here. So let's make our chemical reactor before I forget it, and then I use the items again in something else. Let's get a basic fluid pipe. Stick that there. Trioxide of sulfur. Here we are going to just request water. Regular old water, thank you. Okay, so that will start getting sulfur trioxide whenever we start pumping it into our system. Over here we will... Oh yeah, that's right. This also makes a... This is a fluid, so we can't really send the fluid over here that easily to this electrolyzer. Why is this not running? Out of aqua regia? Or nitric acid, rather, is what it's out of. I mean, the nitric acid's doing its best, so I have a feeling it's going to be much more sad once we start using this machine over here as well, power-wise. It's going to be very upset. Okay, so inert metal mixture needs to go with sulfuric acid, so we are going to need an input hatch. We are going to need 2 output hatches. We could have our electrolyzer here catching the rhodium sulfate next to the next to this chemical reactor. So let's go ahead and have that over here. So electrolyzer. Craft up one of those bad boys. So that will take care of the rhodium sulfate. Then we need to take care of the ruthenium. So that's going to go back into here. Because this is only going to make one item. So the item is going to feed back into itself. We need a way to stop the sulfuric acid from going in while we have ruthenium tetroxide in the item hatch. Let me see. Do we have any item detectors? I really want to see detector cover. We don't have any. Let me just make one. And let me get my Oh, man. Hopefully it didn't just take my ingredients from my electrolyzer. Sure did. Wow. That's funny. So in these, can you filter on what it's detecting? You can filter on what it's detecting. Okay. That's good. Okay, so we're gonna have to... I feel like I need to like draw this out on a piece of paper because there's too many elements here at the moment. I'm getting a little overwhelmed with how many things I'm trying to deal with at the same time. What? What do you mean there's no gold wires? Can you... Oh, electrum wires. And we probably don't know how to make those? Okay. I mean, here's a thought. Just make some of those. Should only take a moment. And then break them down. Alright, hey, how about that? I was about to run it upstairs to throw that Electrum in the machine manually, but nope. Okay, so we are going to need a... We're going to want to auto-output the rhodium sulfate into this machine. So let me get a fluid filter. Filter... I think we're going to need 2 fluid filters, right? And then we'll need a pump to get the hydrogen out. Because this turns into... Oh, oxygen. Well, whatever. Okay, so you're going to just be there. You're going to be a pump. You are going to be exporting oxygen. This one. Okay. Then you, here, you are going to be exporting rhodium sulfate. Okay, that should take care of that. And what, you're just getting the rhodium, right? So we need a basic pipe for you. I think we need to make them. I think we're out of the materials to make them. Alright, easy enough. So you are going to catch the... Wait, rhodium sulfate? Hold on, I'm confused here. This one needs to be sulfur trioxide, my bad. Okay, so we're going to put rhodium sulfate here. Rhodium sulfate. And this one over here, also we need to specify input allowed from output side. Actually, we don't, because that's on output side, and I already set that in the controller here to manual IO unfiltered. Okay, so here we need this to be trioxide instead. Sulfur trioxide. Okay. So that should automatically catch our rhodium sulfate and turn it into, pump it over here and turn it into that thing that it needs. Oh, and then it needs to get the fluid out. How are we getting the fluid out? I didn't leave a hole for that. Oh, since we are piping the sulfur trioxide directly into it, I can change this for our insertion pipe. Okay, and then we will point it up, and then we will auto output fluids. Okay, cool. So I think this byproduct is handled. So for this chemical reactor, we're going to need an output of rhodium sulfate, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide. So we're going to need 3 outputs. Okay, so 3 output hatches. And I'm not going to use a multi-output hatch because I want to control what's going where. So... And I don't think you can filter these quadruple hatches. Output. We have 1 output hatch currently, so let's just make 1 more. And we're gonna have 1 input, 1 item input, we're gonna have 1 item output, and then yeah, we can stock all this stuff in precise quantities, so I'm not worried about that. 1 item input and output should be sufficient. So 1 input and output bus, okay, that is what we need. Get my output hatch, which I saw, and then I cleared the search on accident. All right. For the 30th time at looking at this, we need sulfuric acid coming in, but we need the sulfuric acid only to come in when we do not have any, when we have less than 5 ruthenium tetroxide in the system. And it makes it in quantities of 5, so we can just say any tetroxide. Okay, so inert metal. Let me get the stuff built here. So I think I'm going to use the layers up here. because we're going to have our pipe come up and then over here. So let's do our input bus first. Input bus. Okay, so we are going to be providing or supplying inert metal mixture. What was I doing here? This. Okay, so inert, no, not inert. We need supplier here. And we can supply as much as we want, but I'm just gonna put, not insert, inert. We can just have a stack of it coming at a time. And then we don't need any other items coming in this system, right? Or wait, we also need carbon. So carbon. Okay, carbon. So carbon and inert metal mixture are going to come in. Then we're going to have an item detector cover up here. And I'm going to need to make a filter. One of these filters. Item filter. And we're going to have in our item detector filter here, we're going to say filter on ruthenium tetroxide. Ruthenium tetroxide. Okay, so filter on ruthenium tetroxide. And basically at 0, we want it to turn off, and then at 5 or above, we want it to turn on. Until above maximum. How about we have it at 4, and we're going to have it be latched. So at 0, it'll turn off, and then at 5, it will turn on. Yeah, okay. I think that's going to do what we want. So that's going to give us a redstone signal. I'm going to put it on this block. Actually, I wanted to move it over here. Oh, wait, where'd our filter go? It definitely, like, destroyed our filter, right? Item stored 2. No, that is not the filter I made. I do have a filter stored, but, like, it definitely didn't give my filter back, right? Filter. Stick in our filter. Crowbar. Bro, you can't be deleting my filter like that. That's rude. Yep, I'm just giving myself that back. That is an obvious bug that it forgot to drop the filter when the cover was broken. So, all right, 0, 4, latched, item filter. And right now it should be giving power because we have 0. That's exactly what we want. Okay, we're going to have an input hatch over here. And we're going to have a tank on top of it. So let's get a tank. Like one of these tanks is fine. And we're going to have a pump. And we are going to have a machine controller. No, that's another pump. Machine controller cover. All right, so the pump's going to go here. The pump is going to say import. And then here, we're going to have a machine control cover controlling the pump. And it should be inverted. So that should be sucking in. If I put sulfuric acid in here, it should pull it in. So let's go test with a bucket of sulfuric acid. Okay, cool. That works how we want it to work. And I know we put a little more in there than it can hold, but that's fine. Sulfuric acid, put that back. So when there's ruthenium tetroxide in the input bus, it should be good. So we're also I'm just gonna have this also request the ruthenium tetroxide. And I'm gonna have that be requested in increments of 5, so that seems like that's gonna be really inefficient actually. Um how else can I do this? I guess I can have a filtered conveyor belt. Yeah, I think I'm going to do a filtered conveyor belt here. So let's do our output bus here. I'm not going to be using the auto output side because we're going to do 2 filtered conveyor belts. So let's get conveyor. There's our item filters. We'll get 2 of you, please. Because we want to put the ruthenium tetroxide back into the machine, but we want to kick the ruthenium out. Okay, so we're going to put our conveyor belts on the top to extract, and then the side to put back in. So this is going to export ruthenium tetroxide, and then this one is going to export ruthenium. All right, and that should be all the items this machine makes. Now we have to deal with the fluid outputs. So let's see, we have our sulfuric acid output. We have carbon input, so we just need carbon dioxide, we need rhodium sulfate, and we need hydrogen. Okay, so let's get those set up over... I'll do it just over here. Output hatch. Did we need another input hatch? I don't think so. I think just one input hatch is fine. Okay, so rhodium sulfate. I guess, why do I care if they're... Hang on. Why do I care if these are... So we wanted to pump out all of the rhodium sulfate. Yeah, you know what? We can actually just go ahead and use a quad output hatch here because we don't need to control anything based on that. So we'll do a quadruple output hatch. That's going to catch all of the outputs, and we're just going to put those in an insertion pipe. Okay, and then we need a supplier pipe here for the sulfuric acid. I'm just going to keep 6 buckets of sulfuric acid up here. Actually, we can do 12 buckets. Seems fine. And then we are going to need a basic, and then I'm going to need a basic over here. And then we need to connect everything, and it should be good to go. So basic, and then some unrouted. All right, so basic here because it's an intersection. Oh, you know what? I know I just like literally placed that and configured it. Let me put that here, and then we can save some pipes here. We'll have our basic is still required there. But here I will have our supplier with the sulfuric acid. And then I think that's good. I think we just finish off our chemical reactor. Okay, chemical reactor is done, right? No, what's your deal? Invalid structure. Oh, yeah, it probably needs the whole thing done, huh? There we go. There's our chemical reactor. Let's go ahead and see if it works, I guess. Take some unrouted cables and stick them up there, and everything should be requesting on its way now. All right, so here's inert metal mixture. We don't have the power for it, huh? And probably all 4 of these are tapped out. Do we have more combustion generators? No, we would have to make more. Do I want to make more combustion generators for this? I mean, I guess we're going to need it if we have that set up over there, right? Combustion generators. 4 of you guys. And then we are going to need fluid conduits to come back here. Conduit of fluids. All right, we need terrasteel cables right here. Those connect back there, so I don't need to worry about actually connecting them over here. And yeah, now we just need to wait for our what's it called? Our combustion generators here to craft up. That's gonna take a minute, so I'll be back. All right, I'm back. It is done. Combustion. Can I like just put these directly on the wire? I don't want to get my wire cutter out. Nope. All right. Also, let me just remember really quick here. Oh, this is a 16 amp cable, anyways. We should be fine. I was like, this isn't gonna blow up, right? Nah, we're fine. Okay, and I'll once again get covers later. Why am I saying like get covers later? Like, I'm actually gonna do that. Let me just do it now. Chiseled stone facade. I don't think this is the correct cover, is it? Oh no, that is. Okay, well, I still need more, so. Iron plate. Just craft up a whole bunch of them. Because we need a couple of these here and there. Some here. We needed some over here. I'll leave that one open just because we might put another machine there. And all right, are we running over here now? Not quite. No, we're running. We are running, in fact. Okay. So we do have enough power now to run this. All right, let's see that our system is working properly here. So sulfuric acid is currently loaded up, and that means it's going to keep being used to process this inert metal, but until either the inert metal or the sulfuric acid runs out, it's going to keep processing that. And why is this not... Uh-oh. Hold on, why are you... I think we need to put a disconnection upgrade here because I think it might be trying to put the inert metal into the or the sulfuric acid into the input bus there, which it cannot go, as one would expect. Let's configure this. Do not connect there. I'm not sure like why the sulfuric acid is not coming. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, it was hooked up to the energy hatch. Also, this does not seem to be working because it just took a whole bunch of sulfuric acid out of here. Do we need to invert? Oh, we didn't put well, we didn't put the ruthenium tetroxide in here. There we go. Now that should be working. So this pump should be disabled now. As this sulfuric acid goes down, this tank should stay at 10.5k. Let's see that that's working properly. Okay, the sulfuric acid has gone down and this is staying at 10.5k. Perfect. Alright, so that's going to use up all of the inert metal mixture until it's out of sulfuric acid. Then it's going to swap recipes and do the ruthenium tetroxide. And hopefully it does that before it runs out of space in this input hatch. Otherwise, I might need a bigger input hatch here. And maybe a smaller input hatch on this guy here. How are we doing for power? Not that great, to be honest. It's using a lot of power for these recipes. Alright, let's just leave it alone and come back, and hopefully we're not going to have a traffic jam of stuff. I mean, this output bus has a big buffer in it as well, so never mind, we should be fine. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this until our sulfuric acid amount is down, and then we'll come back and see what it does, if it reacts as it should. Oh, I guess while that's happening, I can go over here and make sure rhodium is working as it should be. Okay, so we are, in fact, working as it should be here. We are not pumping out oxygen, though, so... Oh, right, this needs to be on an insertion pipe. Insertion. Oh, we're out of insertion pipe. I guess we need to craft one. Insertion. Okay, we still have the materials needed for them. That's good. And I need to... Hold on, before I hook that up, let me crowbar... Let me take the filter out, because apparently it steals your filter if you don't do that. Alright, let's go on this side now. We're going to put our pump. We are going to put our filter. We're going to put oxygen. And export. Okay, now we put our insertion pipe. So that should kick out the oxygen. And then the sulfur trioxide is not getting kicked out because I didn't turn on fluid auto. So there we go, fluid auto extract. That's making sulfuric acid right here. And we also need to kick the item out. Gee, we sure need a lot of covers on this machine. How's our chemical reactor up here going? Still have a few more cycles before it's ready. Alright. So, boom. And then we need to allow it to have input from the rhodium sulfate on that side. So that is all good to go. That is all set. We should have rhodium now. Yep, rhodium. Hey. It's not a quest. Even though I feel like that should be. Okay, and how are we doing over here? 4,000, so that's like 2 more cycles, and then it should swap what it's processing over here. So be back once that has ran 1 more cycle, I guess. Be back in like 15 seconds, I guess. Alright, and we should swap recipes now. Oh wait, it needed to run 1 more time. Okay, well, now it should not have enough sulfuric acid to run anymore, so it should swap recipes. Please don't prove me wrong again. Alright, quadruple output hatch back there is working as it should. Alright, do your thing. Swap recipes? Yes, nice. It is swapping the recipe, crunching through those. I don't know why it's like turning off here every tick. Maybe it doesn't have enough power to sustain a run. But alright, it ran out of, out through the ruthenium tetroxide, and then it started pulling in more sulfuric acid and processing that. Okay, so that works exactly as we wanted to. Very good. Okay, and we have our first ruthenium now. Ruthenium. How about that? That means we can now make RTM coils. And this is just over here processing the other stuff we have. Oh, that's still doing the copper sulfate. Okay. I fixed power over here, so nitric acid shouldn't be so sad. This kind of remains our bottleneck over here, but it's fine. It's not like a massive bottleneck. It's not like going half as fast as everything else. Oh, look at this. Logistic pipes are back in style right now, I guess. Okay. Let's do our RTM coils, because I would like to get those made and then have a bunch of tungsten steel ready to go for next episode, because we're finally going to be able to do our power situation. RTM coil. Okay, how many do we need again? We need, we have our coil set up like this, so we need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 per each side, and then 6 more in the middle. So we need 26, and then there is a quest that gives us some. 8. Okay. So we need 18 coils, and the quest will give us the other 8 that we need. So RTM coil 18, please. Oh yeah, that's right. We don't know how to make liquid nichrome either. Okay, well let's wait for more ruthenium to craft, but we need to teach our thing how to make nichrome. Liquid. Wait, what's molten nichrome versus liquid nichrome? The heck? Okay, well, sure. Here we go. Liquid nichrome goes in our fluid extractor. Have we taught our duder over here how to even make nichrome? Nope. Well, we shouldn't need that much. So RTM coils 18. Nope, we still can't do 18. We have to process a lot more ruthenium dust. So let's do 1. We can do 1, right? Like surely. So RTM alloy dust is cooking up over here. It needs an EV mixture, doesn't it? Circuit 1, you go in there, but we need to speak, son. Also, you need a battery to run. Let me steal this Lapitron crystal. There you go. RTM, not RTM. Output is RTM dust. You need to be in this interface. And we need a program circuit card over there. So circuit, program circuit card. We do have one already, so cool. All right, and then the other RTM alloy. Yep, it went up here as I thought. This is a lot of ruthenium. Jeez. Four ruthenium to 2 tungsten. This is 4 to 7 ratio. It's kind of intense for like how involved that process to make this is, right? All right, so ruthenium should, or the RTM alloy should now be cooking in our EBFs. There they go. All right, well, this is more or less what it's going to be for cooking all of the other coils, so I think this is probably as good as any situation to leave off. I will finish crafting the other 17 of these once we have enough ruthenium, and then I will assemble our EBF and craft up some tungsten steel to be ready for next episode. Woo! If you're enjoying the series, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. And let's just take a look over here, make sure our stuff is all working right. Yeah, everything seems to be working right. With that, I will catch you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.